So Henry, tell us a little bit about the time before you joined Grayson's.
So I'm just about to start my 20th year in the construction industry. Most of that has been in technical specification, either managing a regional team or national teams. That's been within both waterproofing and the masonry industries. So really getting a perspective from dealing with architects from initial design stage 2 through to working with main contractors and then dealing with subcontractors to deliver the project. Last 5 years I've spent in subcontracting, which gave me a wholly different perspective and appreciation of really the requirements from supply chain and manufacturers. So yeah, it's good to be here.
So we know each other from your time at XMET, Commercial Director at XMET. Tell us a little bit more about that.
My time at XMET was really to manage a new division, the construction division of XMET, and that was setting up a wind post masonry support offer, as well as brickwork ancillaries through distribution. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed our time working
Crossing swords.
in time to doing battle in the sense. Yes, it was. You certainly taught me an awful lot of what I needed to do, and I hope we made each other raise our games.
Indeed, interesting times.
Interesting times indeed, Tony. It's certainly, I'm feeling a little more comfortable working with you.
Me too.
Good.
When we first started our conversations, I know that there were other offers on the table and you're engaging with other people. Why did you decide to join Grayson's?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest influences was you. Having worked against you, but also in our conversations, I picked up very much that we share common values, common beliefs, goals, and that to me is really important, that I'm working with someone who I can relate to, but also can relate to me. I think also, from my knowledge of my past, the relationship with ACS, Stainless Steel Fixings, I think gives us the business something a little unique and was a major draw. But ultimately I think I thrive on a challenge, and to change is to grow, to change is to increase your knowledge, and for me the challenge to do that and work within a distributor was something that probably is the last piece of the jigsaw for me in my career, and something that I really look forward to.
When you joined Grayson's, what were your first impressions on the business?
Culture for me stands out. We're dealing with a business here that are obsessed with the very highest level, and it's not aspirational, it's real. It's evident how this group of personnel take great pride in why they do what they do. How they do it is consistent, and Claire and the senior team and Chris and Helen see that through to the newest recruits and the apprentices that have taken on. But they're very, very passionate in terms of what they do, and they're consistent in that approach to the client base. And it's a business that obviously recognises quality of the personnel, is consistent, quality in the environment that we're within. You've only got to look at the recently refurbished headquarters here in Rotherham. And ultimately, how we do business is consistent, and that is key for me, albeit our customer base will no doubt throw up a few challenges to create change, but I think we're a very consistent business.
How do you see the challenge of moving Grayson's from being a distributor to a producer of products?
I think the challenge to be a producer, we need to create specification, so we need to be involved at earlier stage. So being involved at earlier stage, then there's quite a long-term involvement in dealing with the architects in specification, and then seeing those through the main contracting process, so being involved in cost planning, being involved in assisting in further design, value engineering, and then picking it up where we are currently in dealing with subcontractors. So ultimately the challenge will be being specified and then seeing it through to product installation.
One thing that we did right from the offset, throw you out, go and meet our customers, go and speak to potential customers, engage with them. What did you find?
A mixture of responses, albeit a lot of consistency from our existing customer base. They really value what Grayson do, and it was them telling me, and they value relationship, continuity, consistency, the knowledge that the team brings. I think when I learnt that Claire and Chris have been working together for nearly 23 years, Helen's been working with them for 16 years, a lot of our customer base didn't realise that. And actually, when I say the years that the team has been working together, they're generally very impressed, but take great pride in the fact that their relationship has contributed to that term as well. So the existing customer base is very, very positive. The challenge is with the new customer base, because naturally they don't know me, they don't know the value that Grayson offers, so they tend to look at that number in the spreadsheet and compare it to others and say, you're not the cheapest. So then we have to start convey why we do what we do and why we value that number in that spreadsheet, and really trying to convey it's more about a total cost rather than just that number. We're
not always the cheapest of suppliers, we're competitive, and we often have to demonstrate whole value. How have you been finding that?
A challenge, because a lot of the individuals I see are in buying positions, so they're seeing a number at the end of the day. So it's trying to enlighten them about the whole cost, whether that be in the system approach, whether that be in the installation and the costing or the saving in terms of labour. So it's really trying to highlight the benefits of a risk-free system, because you can always get cheaper, but it's not necessarily the better option, and sometimes cheaper creates more risk in terms of technical performance.
With Brickwork Sundries, a lot of the time we have to demonstrate the benefits of all the products on time, in full, no picking errors, landing together. How have you been finding that message?
That's a pretty easy message to convey after my time in contracting, knowing if things aren't delivered on time, then it takes out of our margin at the end of the day. So someone in terms of the supply chain could offer me something that was cheaper, but if they didn't deliver it on time, in full, and we spent an awful lot of time sorting out issues, that comes at a cost, and that cost impacts margin. So for any subcontractor out there, they want consistency. So they remember when things go wrong pretty quickly. So next time they're looking at price, they do start to listen about the whole offer.
Grayson's try and differentiate themselves on a quality offering. Have you seen any examples of that whilst you've been there with us?
Yeah. There was an instance where we took a call on a Saturday morning. A contractor had missed a product requirement, and we made a delivery on a Sunday morning. I don't know many businesses that would react in that way. So there's a point of differentiation. But it's a point I keep coming back to is the fact that we listen to our customers. So we've been posed with a challenge from one element of the supply chain. Yes, price is an element, but it's all more about how can we assist to de-risk their business at tender stage, trying to actually get a better understanding of how they actually build in a cost and detail preform corners for the cavity tray. So we're working with that supplier to actually come up with a proposal that meets the requirement, but actually takes it a couple of steps further, that from listening to the requirement will add value to that client.
You've spoken to many of our key clients now and potential prospects. What common themes have you picked up from them?
I think for me, where we can be specified will add value to the client and to the contractor. continuity of a high level of standards in terms of our approach, our honest approach, that we're often asked to value engineer, but it's also got to be the right thing to do. And we've got to think of the holistic approach in that we might offer something that's cheaper, but it has a consequential effect and it makes something else more expensive. Well, then that's of no value. I think our approach is very much that we need to be providing value, and that value is perceived by the client, not by us telling them that we're offering value. So to do that, you've got to do what I'm not doing at the moment, and that's listen. So for me, it's about offering that consistency. And I think with ACS and the rest of our supply chain, we're going to take an approach where we can increase that value offered.
Grayson's want to be seen to be the innovator within the brickwork sundry market. How are you finding getting the information back up from the customer through into those that need to know here to develop the next generation of that product, or to take that product on?
That's been fairly straightforward in knowing what questions to ask, but also by listening to actually then add that to the list of questions for the next client. So you build up a portfolio of information and requirements. And Henry Ford once said that if I'd have given my customers everything they asked for, they'd have had faster horses. So it's actually trying to dissect the information that the client is giving to me and then working that back through the experienced team to say, well, let's consider alternative options that give further benefit.
So, Henry, what's next?
Next is really try and utilise my experience and get involved at earlier stages. Work my way back through main contractor relationships, but also then start to liaise more at architectural stage, trying to add value, trying to enlighten clients about our new product offering in the likes of something like fire blocks, for example, and then really try and complement the team and share that experience that I have in working in a team environment, as well as externally to the customer base.
Your title is Specification Director. Mm-hmm. Not many merchants and distributors have a Specification Director. We've talked about you liaising with architects, engineers, design teams. What do you think that's going to involve?
Assisting them with specification, providing NBS resources, but also then adding comment in terms of the design approach, listening to their requirements, and then proposing maybe other considerations that they hadn't made, but also really proving an opportunity for new products that we now have within our system. And no, not many have a specification director, but then not many distributors have someone that has spent the time that I have fulfilling that role in a manufacturing guise. So yeah, it's different in terms of its approach, but I think the initial feedback of projects that I have got involved with has been positive, because spec director is fairly nondescript in so much as yes, it is around specification, but specification is also about other considerations, and that is the relationship between the architect, the main contractor, and then the subcontractor, in how you ultimately deliver that project in terms of the performance of the product, but also then who's going to install it. So we're talking of supply chain, and we're talking various options and considerations.
Henry, you've been with us for 3 months now.
Indeed.
Are there any notable highlights of those 3 months?
I'm just thinking of the guy had a very resistant response, very closed, very, no, not really interested, to now actually, after talking and meeting a couple of times and having a face-to-face and really asking the questions why, and then being able to respond, to now that individual is giving us opportunity. In fact, proposing our products on projects where we weren't specified. That to me is quite a turnaround.